After today's consultations, Prime Minister Joseph NGUTE, in a declaration, emphasized that the resumption of schools will be conducted in the strict respect of safety measures put in place. He also announced the extension of barrier measures against COVID-19 in Cameroon for a further 2 weeks. Here's the full declaration.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the wake of the message to the nation by the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya, on 19th May 2020, the government proceeded on the occasion of the cabinet meeting of Thursday, 28th May 2020, to review the response strategy against the coronavirus pandemic in Cameroon. At the end of the discussions following the reports presented by the various ministers concerned, it emerged that the number of people testing positive for COVID-19 has risen sharply in recent weeks. As of 28 May 2020, there were 5,356 confirmed cases of COVID-19, including 177 deaths. This evolution is due, among other things, to the laxity in the respect of barrier gestures and to indiscipline observed among many of our fellow citizens. Meanwhile, the number of COVID-19 patients who have recovered their health is constantly rising and stands at 3,326 cases out of the patients who tested positive. This is proof that the strategy implemented by the government under the impulsion of the head of state should be pursued. In this connection, the Minister of Public Health has been instructed to increase the accommodation capacity of health facilities for coronavirus patients, particularly in rural areas. He is equally required to involve district hospitals as well as private health facilities that meet the required standards to manage COVID-19 patients. During the same cabinet meeting, the ministers in charge of education reported on preparations for the resumption of classes on the 1st of June 2020 as set by the President of the Republic. Their reports highlighted the health and educational measures already taken or planned to ensure the safe return of pupils and students to schools and university campuses. The cleaning and disinfection of the various establishments have begun and will be stepped up with the support of the specialized services of the Ministry of Public Health. In addition, at the behest of the Ministry of Scientific Research and Innovation, protective masks and hand sanitizers have been produced locally and made available to the administrations of the education sector. Other health kits have been distributed to schools thanks to a special donation from the head of state or within the framework of initiatives led by private partners, local elite, and especially the regional and local authorities whose action on the field is laudable. Taking into account the specificity of higher education and the volume of enrollments recorded thereof, I held a working session this Friday, 29th May, with the heads of state-owned universities. This meeting revealed that the measures have been put in place to ensure that lectures resume on the 1st of June 2020. Furthermore, measures to ensure the health and safety of the students and staff of all state universities have been taken. Ladies and gentlemen, considering the assurances given by the ministers in charge of education, and in order to complete the 2019-2020 academic year, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya, has decided that the resumption of classes at all levels of education as well as in professional schools and vocational centers will take place on Monday, June 1st, throughout the national territory. I would like to point out, with regard to primary education, that this resumption concerns exclusively the pupils of Class 6 for the Anglophone subsystem and cours moyenne deuxième année for the French-speaking subsystem. As regards secondary education, the resumption of classes will be gradual, starting with upper 6th and terminal from the 1st of June 2020. After this, students of the other examination classes will follow. That is, Première and Troisième for the Francophone subsystem and Form 5 for the Anglophone subsystem. For this second group, the specific modalities of resumption will be communicated by the Minister of Secondary Education. I would like to point out that, in line with the instructions of the Head of State, nursery school pupils and intermediate classes in primary and secondary schools are not concerned by the resumption of classes on the 1st of June 2020. As I mentioned earlier, the end-of-year report cards established on the basis of the evaluations of the first and second terms of the 2019-2020 school year will be given to parents according to a schedule to be defined by the heads of the schools concerned. Furthermore, I would like to point out that the practical sports exercises provided for in the official examinations for primary and secondary education are cancelled because of the fact that they bring together large numbers of students on the same site, and that could increase the risk of contamination. As far as higher education is concerned, the programming of lectures, tutorials, and practical work will be carried out according to the flexibility specific to each university and in accordance with the adjusted academic calendar. As for professional schools and vocational training centers, the resumption of classes will consider the specificities of these institutions at the behest of the relevant ministries and head of institutions. In order to ensure the protection of learners and teachers, the ministers concerned have been instructed to ensure that protective masks are worn and that social distancing is respected on school and university campuses. They should also take useful and necessary measures to make available the required sanitary kits such as hand sanitizers, thermoflashes, and hand washing buckets in each establishment. In any case, I urge all ministers in charge of education and training to maintain dialogue with the entire educational community, parents, teachers associations, and teachers unions for the success of the activities being undertaken. I also call on them to intensify communication in order to raise awareness on the measures taken to ensure the protection of our children. For that purpose, they have to keep me informed of any difficulties faced on the ground so that we can find appropriate solutions. Lastly, given the situation of the COVID-19 pandemic in Cameroon, the President of the Republic has also decided to extend for an additional 15 days and possibly renewable the measures still in force, which he took on 17th of March 2020 as part of the fight against this virus. I would like to conclude my statement by reassuring the entire population and the education community in particular that the government is doing everything possible to ensure that classes resume calmly and serenely throughout the national territory on Monday, 1st June 2020. As the head of state prescribed on the 19th of May, let us not give in to panic, but rather show solidarity. Let us all remain mobilized in the fight against COVID-19 by systematically wearing masks in public places and respecting barrier gestures. I thank you very much for your kind attention.